Have you ever wanted someone to think about you so deeply they dreamed of you while they slept? What if I told you tonight you could enter their dreams, not by force, but by imagination? This method has worked for me, and I assure you, it works for anyone who understands the law. There was a time in my life when a dear friend and I had grown distant. The physical distance didn't concern me. It was the emotional one. I longed to reconnect, to restore the bond. But I knew that begging, reaching out, or even speaking aloud would only stir up resistance. So I did something different. I sat quietly in my chair late one night and I imagined her asleep. In my mind's eye, I saw her smiling in a dream, with me. I imagined the exact scene we used to share, walking along the promenade near the sea. I felt the breeze, I smelled the salt in the air, and I heard her laugh echo beside mine. I imagined her dreaming this tonight. The next morning she called me. I had the strangest dream, she said. You were there. We were walking, laughing by the water. Now I share this because I didn't influence her dream with any physical action. I didn't send a message. I didn't whisper her name. I simply used imagination before sleep, and the method worked precisely as it always does. The last thought you take into sleep is the seed you plant in the subconscious. When you imagine someone thinking of you, seeing you, smiling with you, talking to you, just as you drift off, that scene enters their psychic space. It bypasses logic and plants itself as real. You are not forcing them to dream of you. You are inviting them by living the dream first. To make someone dream of you, feeling is everything. You must feel the joy, the warmth, the connection, as though the event is happening now. Feeling is the secret code that unlocks the channel between minds. Without it, your imagination is only fantasy. With it, you become a transmitter of vivid, living impressions that travel directly into another's dreamscape. You must not hope that they dream of you. You must assume that they already have. This is how the law of assumption works. You don't wait for evidence. You become the evidence. Say within, they are dreaming of me tonight, and make that your truth. Then drop it into sleep like a stone into water. There is no distance in consciousness. When you impress the subconscious with a vivid scene involving another, manifestation through dreams can occur instantly. The subconscious mind of the other receives what your conscious mind accepts as true. What you believe inwardly, they reflect outwardly, often through dreams. When you visualize the face of the person, their surroundings, and your interaction with them again and again, telepathy through dreams becomes natural. The mind loves images, and those images, impressed deeply before sleep, create experiences for the other without their awareness of how or why they dreamt it. You cannot imagine someone dreaming of you while thinking, they won't. That contradiction cancels the signal. Your inner dialogue must align with the truth you seek to embody. Say within, they see me, they miss me, they will dream of me. Your words are seeds. Plant them with confidence. Manifesting someone through dreams is not a game of luck. It is a practice of persistence. Each night, repeat the scene until it feels so natural you forget it hasn't happened yet. Once your assumption feels like reality, it must express itself, often first through dreams, then through waking contact. The outer world is simply a mirror. What you hold inside will be reflected not just in circumstance, but in the minds and dreams of others. To use imagination to manifest, you must recognize that there is no separation. What you imagine within yourself is the world. So tonight, become the one they dream of, not through desire, but through assumption. I urge you now to take seriously the final moments before you enter sleep, for they are more powerful than most will ever know. What you carry in your imagination in those last drifting seconds becomes not just a private reverie, it becomes a living reality on the invisible plane. In that sacred space between waking and sleep, when the senses have quieted and the world grows dim, the inner world opens wide. And it is here, right here, that the bridge is built between you and another. To influence the dreams of another is not sorcery, nor is it fantasy. It is law, it is principle, and it is available to you the moment you learn to master the art of imagining deliberately before sleep. You see, there is no such thing as idle imagining. Every image you create within is alive. It breathes with purpose. The tragedy is that most people imagine unconsciously. They relive arguments. They dwell in fear. They imagine rejection, distance, sorrow. And what follows? The outer world and even the dreams of others begin to reflect those very patterns. But if you will arrest your mind, if you will direct it consciously in the quiet moments before sleep, you will discover that your imagination is not confined to your body. It reaches outward. It sends impressions. And those impressions are received by others as dreams, thoughts, impulses, and feelings. When you go to bed tonight, do not lie down as one who is uncertain. Lie down as the artist of reality. Create the scene you wish to be true. If you desire someone to think of you, to feel your presence, to dream of you, then see it now. Create it inwardly in such vivid detail that you feel yourself already there. It matters not where they are physically. Imagination is not limited by miles or oceans or time zones. The moment you impress your subconscious with the image, the message is sent. Now, the great secret lies in the fact that the subconscious does not understand later. It understands only what is. That means your work is not to ask, will they dream of me, but to declare inwardly, they are dreaming of me now. It is to construct such a natural and believable scene of togetherness that your whole inner world begins to reflect the truth of it. That inner truth then becomes the outer echo. It becomes their experience, often while they sleep, when their conscious defenses are down, and the subconscious is free to receive. I have witnessed this principle again and again. Imagine, if you will, lying in your bed with the lights low, your eyes are closed, and your body begins to relax. Your breathing deepens. In this state, neither fully awake nor fully asleep, you begin to paint with your inner eye. You do not try to figure out how it will happen. You do not wonder whether it's working. You simply see. You allow yourself to enter the scene. Perhaps you imagine them reaching for you, speaking to you with joy, laughing with you, or gazing at you with warmth. You feel the softness of their hand, the weight of their presence. You listen to the words they might say in such a moment, and you allow that moment to be so real that it replaces the outer world. Then, while in that state of vivid imagining, you let go. You allow yourself to drift off, carrying that scene with you into sleep. This is the moment of conception. You have planted the seed, and the subconscious, knowing no difference between fact and assumption, begins to move the pieces of reality into place. And very often, the first sign of this shift is not an outward encounter, but a dream, and not your dream, but theirs. They receive the scene you imagine. They feel it as if it were their own. They see you, they hear you, they respond to you, not because you invaded their mind, but because you gently suggested a possibility, so vivid that their own subconscious accepted it as true. This is the sacred power of imagination before sleep. It is the gateway through which you impress your world upon theirs. And when it is done in love, in peace, in beauty, it carries the fragrance of truth. And truth is always received. So tonight, when the day is done and you are alone with your thoughts, take this seriously. Do not let your imagination drift into worry or waste. Choose the scene you wish to experience, not just for yourself, but for the one you love. Assume that they are dreaming of you this very night. See it, feel it, believe it, and fall asleep, not with longing, but with fulfillment. For what you dare to assume with faith before sleep will enter the dreams of others, and eventually the reality you share. There is a secret rhythm to this universe, one that does not depend on words or action or even visible presence. That rhythm is feeling, and to one who understands, feeling becomes the most direct and potent method of communication across any distance. If you desire to be known, to be remembered, to be felt by another, do not strive, do not force, do not beg, feel. The feeling that you generate within yourself is not locked inside your chest. It radiates outward, it vibrates. It travels through what the world calls emptiness and reaches the subconscious of the other as clearly as if you had spoken aloud. And what is more powerful, words that can be doubted or feelings that cannot be denied? People may resist your words, but they cannot unfeel what they have felt. Let us understand this principle in full clarity. When you enter a state of deep inner feeling, especially as you drift into sleep, you are not merely entertaining an emotion, you are broadcasting a signal. Just as a radio station emits a frequency that reaches listeners, your inner state reaches others, not metaphorically, but vibrationally, energetically, spiritually. What you feel deeply, persistently, and with faith becomes an impression in the field of consciousness. And those with whom your heart is entangled, be it by love, memory, or desire, will feel it. There is no limitation to this power. It does not matter where the other person is. They may be in another room, another city, even another continent. But if they are connected to you by the thread of thought, and you feel the truth of their presence in your imagination, then your feeling will travel directly to them. It will appear in their dream. It will echo as a whisper in their mind. They may not know why they suddenly thought of you, or why they dreamed of your voice or your touch, but it will have come from the feeling you established in your own inner sanctuary. Now understand, it is not enough to think about something. Thought alone is abstract. It is only when the thought is married to emotion that it becomes alive. You might say, I want them to think of me. But if you feel doubt or fear or distance while thinking it, then the signal you send is not one of connection, it is one of separation. The power lies not in the thought itself, but in the feeling beneath it. That is the true communicator. If you wish to enter their dreams, feel the joy of being with them. If you wish to be in their thoughts, feel the certainty of already being known. You do not need to explain this with logic. Feeling does not require proof. It operates on a higher plane where all things are connected and instantaneous. Your task is not to figure out how they will receive it. Your task is to generate it, to sit quietly and inwardly create such a scene, filled with so much emotion that it becomes impossible not to be felt. If you feel love, feel it completely. If you feel reunion, let it flood your being. If you feel presence, let it be so vivid that you forget you are alone. And as you generate this feeling, you are sending a pure signal, not one born of effort, but of being. This is the key to all spiritual communication. It is not the words you say aloud, it is not the rituals you follow, it is the inner conviction felt in your body, held in your soul, that creates the bridge. In fact, when someone dreams of you, it is because they have touched your inner state. The dream is not random, it is not fantasy, it is reception. They have picked up the frequency of your feeling, and in the dream, they interpret it in a form the subconscious can reveal. And here is the wonder. You need not even mention their name. You do not need to say, let them see me in their sleep. No, you need only to feel what it is to be seen, to be embraced, to be known. The moment you feel it, deeply, sincerely, it is done. The work is complete. The rest unfolds naturally. Now remember, When you perform this act of inner creation, do so from a place of peace, not from desperation, not from need, but from the wholeness of knowing that your feeling is real. The world teaches that only what can be seen is true, but you must learn that only what is felt is real. That is the beginning of all change, all union, all manifestation. So tonight, when you lie down to rest, do not concern yourself with outcomes. Concern yourself only with states. Enter the feeling of being remembered, loved, dreamed about. Saturate your inner world with that sensation. Let it move through you like warmth, like light, like truth. And trust that the one you love will feel it. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Because feeling is the signal, and the soul always receives. The only true barrier between you and the realization of your desire is your own unwillingness to assume that what you want is already yours. The world will tell you that you must wait for proof before you believe. But the truth is far more radical. You must believe before you ever see. The law of assumption operates on this divine principle. That which you assume to be true becomes your experience, not because it was earned, not because it was deserved, but because assumption is creation. This is not an abstract idea, but a living law. It governs everything you have, everything you lack, everything you continue to experience in the silence of your heart. The moment you assume a thing to be true, you invite its reality into being. It moves from possibility into form, not through effort, but through identity. The assumption becomes the bridge between your present experience and the future you long for, and once crossed, there is no turning back. Now consider this. When you want someone to think of you, dream of you, connect with you inwardly, you must begin by assuming that they already do. This is the very foundation of spiritual contact. You do not chase, you do not wait for a sign, you simply accept inwardly and completely that the connection exists. The moment you assume it, you enter the state in which it becomes real, and all your senses begin to align with this new reality, making it not a hope but a fact. The error most people make is to attempt to force results while still living in the assumption of lack. They say the words, they visualize the scene, but in their hearts, they still believe it has not yet happened. The law does not respond to words, it responds to belief. And belief is simply sustained assumption. It is the quiet, unwavering agreement that this is true now. Let us say you desire to be with someone who is distant. Instead of longing for them or imagining what you lack, you assume the opposite. You walk into sleep as though you had just spoken with them. You feel the warmth of their affection, the closeness of their presence. You assume the dream has already been dreamt, the connection already made. And you do not waver from that state no matter what the outer world shows you. That unwavering inner conviction is the seed of transformation. You cannot create anything that you do not first assume, and the bridge, the mystical bridge from here to there, is built entirely of assumption. If you stand on this side of the river looking across at what you desire, you may feel despair. You may wonder how to get there. But if you close your eyes and feel yourself already on the other side, walking in the experience as if it were already your own, you dissolve the distance. The bridge appears beneath your feet, and the journey is no longer one of time, but of awareness. This law works with perfect precision. It does not respond to effort, struggle, or pleading. It responds to the state you occupy in imagination. That state, once entered, begins to generate its own evidence. You are not required to make it happen. You are only required to be the one for whom it has already happened. That is the hidden meaning of living in the end. You move beyond desire into fulfillment, and in doing so, you call forth from the unseen that which already exists in the eternal. Many are caught in the trap of thinking they must wait for things to change. But the change does not begin out there. It begins the moment you assume that your world has changed. An assumption, though invisible, begins to mold reality like clay. If you hold to it, if you persist in your inner knowing despite appearances, the world cannot help but conform. Because the world is not separate from you, it is your assumption pushed out. So tonight, when you lie in your bed, let your final thoughts not be of what is lacking, but of what is true. Create a simple scene, a scene that implies your desire has already been fulfilled, and enter into it with feeling. Say not, I want them to dream of me, but they dreamed of me tonight. Say it not as hope, but as fact. Feel it, trust it, fall asleep in it. That is assumption. And once assumed, it must be so. Not because you begged for it, but because you accepted it. You crossed the bridge of belief and entered the state of fulfillment. And the world, being nothing more than the reflection of your inner world, will rise to meet it as surely as the dawn follows the night. You are not confined by the limits of your physical surroundings. Though the world around you may appear solid, defined, and distant, the truth is far more extraordinary. In the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as distance. Space is an illusion maintained by the senses. Time, as the world understands it, is a sequence. But in consciousness, all events exist simultaneously. What this means is simple yet powerful. When you impress something upon the subconscious, it reaches beyond the borders of space and time and affects others immediately. This is not philosophy. This is spiritual law. The subconscious mind, being impersonal and infinite, is connected to all other minds. There are not many separate subconscious minds. There is one universal subconscious, a field in which all things are contained. You are not isolated in this field. You are an operant center of consciousness. What you accept as true within yourself becomes the impression that travels outward into this invisible network, and what you imagine with conviction is felt by others, whether they realize it or not. Let us consider this in practice. If you imagine someone dreaming of you, it is not necessary to be physically near them. They may be cities or continents away. But once you quiet your senses, withdraw your attention from the external world, and enter the inner chamber of imagination, you are face to face with them. There is no separation, for all minds are rooted in the same universal consciousness. What you see and feel in this state is not fantasy, it is creation. And because space does not exist in the subconscious, what you project is received immediately. You do not need to question whether it will reach them. It already has. What remains is the unfolding of the effect, which may come as a dream, a thought, a spontaneous impulse, but the communication itself is instantaneous. In truth, the only delay is the delay of recognition. The world will not reflect your assumption until you have assumed it completely. But the transmission, the movement of your intention through the subconscious, takes place the moment you feel it as real. And what of time? The world teaches you to wait, to look to the future, to anticipate fulfillment as something distant. But in the language of the subconscious, there is no future. Everything is now. To imagine that something will happen is to place it always beyond reach. But to feel that it has already happened is to bring it into the eternal present, which is the only place creation occurs. So when you lie down at night and imagine someone dreaming of you, you must not place that dream in tomorrow. You must see it as already taking place now, in this very moment. Their mind has already received the image. Their dream is already unfolding. This is the truth of spiritual causation. You are not waiting for a result. You are establishing a reality. The world will reflect that reality only after you have made it true within yourself. When you understand that space and time are only appearances, you will stop asking when or how. You will begin instead to be. You will live in the state of fulfillment, and fulfillment will reveal itself. You will trust the invisible process because you know it does not obey the rules of physical law, but the law of consciousness. It is also important to understand that the subconscious cannot be deceived by words. It responds to feeling, it responds to belief. If you attempt to impress the subconscious with hollow affirmations while feeling doubt or fear, it will not respond. But the moment you feel something with conviction, the impression is made. This is why entering the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the key to all communication. It is not what you say, it is what you accept inwardly as true. So if you wish to influence someone's dream, do not approach the act as though you were sending something to them. That implies separation. Instead, know that they are already within you. As you are within them, you are not sending, you are revealing. You are opening the door to a shared space in consciousness and placing within it the image, the scene, the emotional content that you desire to be experienced. You are not reaching across space. You are simply awakening a connection that already exists beyond time. There is no effort in this. The moment you assume the reality of the scene you imagine, the subconscious begins to shape itself accordingly. You need not force it. The subconscious mind is passive but infinitely responsive. It accepts without resistance what is impressed upon it with feeling, so the question is not whether your desire can reach them. The only question is, have you accepted it as done? To live in this understanding is to live in freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of delay or distance. You realize that everything is now. Everyone is here. All possibilities are within reach. The moment you accept them inwardly, the subconscious is not bound to your body or your circumstances. It moves through the depths of all being. And what you impress upon it becomes the silent cause of all outward expression. When you fully grasp that space and time are no obstacles to your imagination, you will begin to create deliberately, not randomly. You will choose your assumptions with care. You will lie down at night and imagine, not with hope, but with authority. You will no longer plead with the world to change. You will change your inner world and watch as the outer yields to it. Because there is no distance in consciousness. There is only one mind, one field, one source, and you are in it now. Everything you see in your world began as an image, not on a canvas, but in consciousness. The most powerful instrument you have for shaping reality is not your hands, your voice, or even your words. It is your imagination. And yet most people use it carelessly, as though its contents had no consequence. They entertain images of what they fear, dread, or regret, and then wonder why those very conditions appear again and again in their experience. But when one begins to realize the law, one awakens to the sacred function of inner imagery, that what you consistently imagine with feeling will not only appear in your world, but may first emerge in the dreams and inner states of others. The mind does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is experienced. This is the divine gift and, at the same time, the warning. Whatever you accept as true in imagination is faithfully absorbed by the subconscious mind, which then sets out to externalize it, not by logic, not by effort, but by correspondence. The world rearranges itself to reflect your inner picture. And because the subconscious of all beings is interconnected, the images you dwell upon are not locked inside your skull. They are received by others as well, especially in states where the conscious mind is inactive, such as during sleep. Dreams are not idle shadows. They are the first whisper of unseen reality made visible. And when someone dreams of you, it is not always a random event. It is often a direct result of the image you have consistently held in your mind. If you imagine yourself walking beside them, speaking with them, embracing them, not once but night after night, then that image becomes saturated with energy. It gathers weight, dimension, and form, and eventually it must find an outlet. That outlet is often the dream world. There, removed from the barriers of doubt and waking resistance, the subconscious of the other accepts your image and produces it as their dream experience. This is not manipulation, it is creation. You are not infringing upon their will. You are impressing the field of consciousness in which you both exist, and you do so not by force, but by feeling and persistence. The image you imagine must be clear, vivid, detailed. It must move beyond thought into sensation. It is not enough to think, I want them to see me. You must see yourself with them, hear their voice, feel the texture of the scene, the temperature in the air, the warmth of their nearness, the joy of shared presence. The more sensory rich your image, the more easily it takes root in the subconscious and becomes reality. Do not mistake this for fantasy. Fantasy is what you indulge in without conviction. Imagination, when felt as real, is creation. It is the cause of all effects. When you begin to live inwardly in the scenes you wish to experience outwardly, you will discover a strange phenomenon. The very people you imagine begin to think of you, dream of you, even reach out to you without knowing why. They are responding not to your outer actions, but to the inner image you have impressed upon the subconscious field. Now let this truth settle in your mind. There is no limit to what an image, consistently and emotionally impressed, can accomplish. The mind of another may be unaware of why they feel a shift, why they suddenly dream of your presence. But the subconscious knows. It receives your image and translates it into their symbolic dream language. Sometimes it appears literally, sometimes symbolically, but the connection has been made and the channel remains open for further manifestation. This is why it is so important to guard the images you carry. Do not pollute your imagination with fear or frustration. Do not rehearse arguments or rejections. Instead, return again and again to the image of harmony, closeness, union. If your desire is for someone to feel your presence, then live as though they already do. Enter into the picture of fulfillment so completely that it begins to feel more real than the outer world. That is when the dream is seeded. And remember, repetition is not vain. Every time you return to the same image, you deepen the groove in the subconscious. You increase its weight. You make it familiar, natural, believable. Eventually, it becomes so normal to you that you are no longer surprised when it shows up in the world, because you have already lived it inwardly 1,000 times. This is the essence of spiritual communication. You do not knock on another's door. You light a lamp in your own window and they see it. You do not beg for their attention. You create such a rich experience within that it overflows and their subconscious receives the signal. Dreams are the first response. They are the proof that the image has been accepted. And if you persist, that dream may become action. Thought may become contact. And imagination may become reality. So tonight, ask yourself, what image will I carry? What vision will I fall asleep with? What picture of my world will I impress upon the canvas of the infinite? Because what you imagine, believe me, is already beginning to be dreamed. The words you speak to yourself within are not idle chatter. They are the architects of your reality. Your inner speech, the dialogue that plays continuously in the theater of your mind, holds immense power. It is the thread that weaves your experiences together. If your inner speech is fragmented, uncertain, or contradictory, your outer world will mirror that confusion. But if your inner speech is unified, clear, and aligned with your deepest desire, it sets into motion the divine process by which your assumption becomes reality. Many people are unaware of the profound effect their thoughts and words have upon their subconscious. You might think you are simply thinking or talking to yourself, but in truth, you are commanding your entire being. The subconscious mind listens attentively, without judgment or discrimination, and acts upon whatever you feed it. It does not question, it does not debate. It accepts as true whatever your inner speech declares. This is why it is so vital to guard and direct your internal dialogue carefully. When you desire someone to dream of you or to think of you deeply, your inner speech must reflect the certainty of that reality. It cannot harbor doubt, suspicion, or fear. If you say inside, "Will they dream of me? I hope so," you send a signal of uncertainty. The subconscious mind hears this may or may not be true. Such ambivalence weakens your creative power. Instead, you must speak with confidence. They are dreaming of me now. Our connection is real. It is alive. By doing so, you are planting a seed in the fertile ground of your subconscious that can only grow into reality. Your inner speech must be consistent and in harmony with the scene you imagine. It must never contradict your visualization. If you imagine warmth and closeness, but your inner speech doubts or resists, the conflict will create blockage. Your imagination and inner words must dance together as partners in perfect synchrony. When they do, your subconscious receives a clear and undivided command, and the world responds accordingly. Furthermore, your inner speech is not just words, but the tone, feeling, and conviction behind them. A phrase whispered with hesitation is not the same as one declared with certainty. The subconscious mind is sensitive to this. It is the feeling that gives power to the words. If your inner speech carries joy, faith, and assurance, it becomes a magnetic force that draws your desire into manifestation. If it carries anxiety, fear, or lack, it repels and delays. To master your inner speech, begin by becoming the observer of your thoughts. Notice what you say to yourself throughout the day, and especially before sleep. Are your words aligned with what you wish to create? Are they supporting your dream or sabotaging it? Awareness is the first step. Without it, your inner dialogue will run wild, directing you unconsciously toward unwanted outcomes. Next, deliberately choose words that affirm your desire as already fulfilled. Speak in the present tense. Do not say, I want them to dream of me, but rather, they are dreaming of me. Use language that affirms and sustains your assumption. This simple shift in wording signals to your subconscious that the reality you desire is not in the distant future, but in the now. It is also helpful to repeat these affirmations often, especially in the quiet moments before sleep. The subconscious is most receptive during this liminal state between wakefulness and slumber. Your inner speech here acts like a seed planted deeply into fertile soil. Nurture it with repetition and feeling. Let it take root until it grows strong and unshakable. Remember that the power of your inner speech is not dependent on external circumstances. It is not contingent upon what others say or do. It does not wait for visible evidence. It is an unyielding decree from your innermost being. When you master your inner speech, you hold the reins of creation firmly in your hands. You become the conscious author of your experience. When you use your inner speech to affirm that someone is dreaming of you, you are not merely wishing, you are declaring a new state of being. You are stepping into the reality where your desire exists. This is the essence of the creative act. Your words and feelings become the invisible mold from which your future is cast. Therefore, cultivate a habit of inner speech that uplifts and empowers. Speak kindly and firmly to yourself. Remind yourself often of the truth you wish to embody. Silence doubt and negativity by replacing them with confident, loving statements. Your inner voice is your most faithful servant. Train it well, and it will serve you by bringing forth your dreams. In all things, consistency is key. The inner speech that leads to manifestation is not a one-time utterance, but a sustained conviction. It is the chorus of belief that echoes throughout your consciousness until it resonates in the world. Speak as if your desire is already yours, and you will find that the dream you hold will manifest not only in the mind of another, but in your shared reality. Your inner speech is your bridge between desire and fulfillment. Guard it, direct it, and let it speak the language of creation. When this is done, the world responds, not by chance, but by law. Persistence is the silent force that bridges the gap between imagination and reality. It is the unwavering dedication to the assumption of your desire's fulfillment, not for a moment, but until that assumption settles into the very fabric of your being. Too often, people begin with faith, then falter when evidence does not immediately appear. But the creative power of imagination, is not a momentary spark. It is a steady flame that requires nurturing until it becomes the natural state of your consciousness. To persist is not to strain or struggle. It is to continue assuming with confidence, as though what you desire is already a part of your life. This means living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled repeatedly, day after day, moment after moment. It is not enough to imagine once or twice. The mind and subconscious require repetition to cement the new reality. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, you shape your inner world continuously until the form you desire is unmistakable and undeniable. The naturalness of this assumption is crucial. When you first begin to imagine your desire fulfilled, it may feel foreign, even uncomfortable. You might struggle to believe, to feel the emotion fully, or to silence doubt. This is the testing ground. You must meet it not with frustration, but with calm determination. Each time you return to the scene, each time you recreate the feeling, you ease the tension and make the state more familiar. You train your consciousness to rest in it without effort or resistance. Persistence also means trusting the process, even when the outer world contradicts your inner assumption. The senses may tell you that your desire is far from fulfillment, yet your faith must remain unshaken. This is the art of living in the end, not waiting for circumstances to change before you feel fulfilled, but feeling fulfilled now despite appearances. To persist is to refuse to accept the temporary reality presented by the senses and to hold fast to the vision that lives within. In this steadfastness, something remarkable occurs. The new assumption, once unfamiliar and fragile, becomes second nature. It ceases to be an act of will and becomes your habitual state. The feeling of fulfillment flows effortlessly. You carry yourself differently. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with this new reality naturally, without conscious effort. It becomes who you are. This transformation within is the cause of the changes you seek externally. The world cannot help but respond to your consistent inner state. Persistence is the key that unlocks this power. Without it, the imagination flickers and dies before its fruit can ripen. With it, the seed you plant grows into a mighty tree, bearing the fruit of your desires. It is important to remember that persistence is not persistence in external action alone. While action may accompany your inner work, it is the mental and emotional persistence that truly matters. You persist in the assumption, in the feeling, in the faith. You repeat the mental scenes until they are burned into your subconscious, until they become part of your character and identity. This is why the practice before sleep is so powerful. The moments before slumber are when your mind is most receptive. If you persistently enter the state of the wish fulfilled at this time, night after night, the subconscious is deeply impressed. This leads to dreams that reflect your assumption and eventually to waking events that confirm it. Persistence here acts like a gentle but relentless tide, shaping the shores of your reality. When doubt arises, and it will, do not give it power. Doubt is the enemy of creation because it introduces contradiction. But even doubt can be overcome through persistence. Return again and again to your inner assumption. Repeat your scene with renewed feeling. Let your faith be stronger than your doubt. Over time, persistence wears down resistance and replaces it with certainty. In persistence, you learn patience, not the passive waiting of desperation, but the active holding of belief. You understand that creation unfolds in divine timing, and your role is to remain faithful until the evidence manifests. The universe is not hurried, but it is faithful to your inner state. Your persistence becomes a silent contract with reality, a vow to remain in the assumption until it cannot be denied. This persistence transforms you as much as it transforms your circumstances. You become a living embodiment of your desire fulfilled. This embodiment radiates outward and influences not only your own world, but also the consciousness of others connected to you. When you persist in the feeling of being dreamt about, You create an irresistible magnetism that draws the other into alignment. Therefore, cultivate persistence as a spiritual discipline. Return each day, each night to the scene of fulfillment. Re-enter the feeling as naturally as breathing. Let it become your resting place. In doing so, you build the bridge from imagination to reality, from desire to fulfillment, from hope to certainty. Persistence is the heartbeat of creation. Without it, dreams fade. With it, dreams become life. All that you perceive with your senses, the world of form, space, and time, is but a reflection, a shadow cast by the true substance, which is consciousness. This consciousness is not confined to any single body or mind. It is universal, eternal, and the only true reality. The material world you see and touch is simply the outward expression of your inner state of being. To understand this is to grasp the fundamental law of creation and to wield a power beyond measure. When you desire someone to dream of you, to think of you, or to feel your presence, you are working with the essence of consciousness itself. The outer world may appear separate, distant, and fixed, but these are illusions created by the senses. The reality that governs all events is the state of consciousness you hold within. Change your consciousness, and the outer world must change to reflect it. This is the unchanging truth behind all manifestation. Consciousness is a singular, undivided whole. There is no separation between you and another, no barrier that truly divides one mind from another. This is why what you hold in your imagination, what you assume, what you feel, is not private or isolated. It resonates in the universal field of consciousness and influences others connected to you on that invisible level. To think that you are alone, isolated in your desires and experiences, is to misunderstand the nature of reality itself. When you imagine someone dreaming of you, you are entering a shared space within this universal consciousness. Your inner assumption, your feeling of connection, becomes a beacon that reaches beyond physical limits. It is a vibration that cannot be ignored. The one you imagined receives this vibration, not as an external force imposed upon them, but as a reflection of the shared reality that already exists between you on the inner plane. It is essential to recognize that your consciousness creates the framework of your experience. The thoughts you think, the feelings you hold, the beliefs you maintain, they are the architects of your world. You are not merely a passive observer of life, but an active creator. This is why living in the end, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is so potent. When you dwell in that state, you are aligning your consciousness with the reality you desire, and the outer world must conform. This understanding dissolves the illusion of waiting or struggle. There is no waiting in consciousness. There is only the now, the eternal present, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your task is not to wait for the world to change, but to change your state of consciousness. As you do, your experience will shift accordingly. Manifestation is the natural result of this alignment. The material world is like a mirror, reflecting back what you hold within. If you hold doubt, fear, or separation, the mirror shows these qualities. If you hold love, faith, and unity, the mirror reflects these. This is why your inner life is of utmost importance. It is the true source from which all creation flows. To influence another's dream or thought is to influence their reflection in the universal consciousness by first influencing your own. When you persist in the assumption that someone is dreaming of you, you are not sending a separate signal across a void. You are embracing a shared reality that transcends physical boundaries. Your consciousness touches theirs because consciousness is one. This is the profound secret of manifestation. You are never isolated, never disconnected. Your inner world, this knowledge empowers you to become the master of your destiny. You no longer see yourself as subject to external circumstances, but as the creator of them. Your imagination is not fantasy, but prophecy. Your feelings are not emotions, but forces of creation. The moment you accept this, you step into a new level of awareness and power. To live by this truth is to live in freedom. You are free from the chains of circumstance, free from the limitations of time and space, free from the belief that life happens to you rather than through you. You become the conscious creator, shaping your experience by the state of consciousness you choose to occupy. Therefore, cultivate your inner world with care. Guard your assumptions. Nurture the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Know that in doing so, you are not merely dreaming, but creating the reality that you and others will share. Consciousness is the only reality, and you are its artist. In this understanding lies the power to manifest not only your desires, but to influence the consciousness of others in the highest and most profound ways. You become a living testament to the unity of all things and the infinite potential that resides within the mind and spirit. As you reflect on these truths, remember that the power to influence dreams and shape reality lies not in force or effort, but in the subtle, profound workings of your own imagination and feeling. Your mind before sleep is a gateway. Your emotions are the language that reaches beyond distance. Your assumption is the bridge that unites inner desire with outer manifestation. The subconscious knows no bounds of space or time. It receives and responds to the images you hold with unwavering faith. Mental imagery becomes the blueprint for dream realities. And your inner speech must harmonize perfectly with your deepest wishes to awaken the creative power within. Persistence is your companion on this journey, guiding you until your new state of being feels as natural as breathing. And at the heart of it all lies the singular truth that consciousness is the only reality. One undivided eternal presence connecting all things. When you align yourself with this truth, you become the conscious creator of your experience and the silent architect of others' dreams. Embrace this power tonight. Live fully in the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Know that as you do, you are already present in their dreams, shaping reality beyond what the senses can perceive. This is the law of imagination made manifest. This is your sacred birthright.